What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So, Kalista, this is the League of Legends champion I'm going to be covering today. She is obviously from the Shadow Isles, and this is a continuation of the Shadow Isles theme I do every single Thursday, just in case you don't know by now. So, what am I going to do? This is interesting actually, because this is the first champion in a while that actually has a new champion teaser. So that's the first thing I'm going to be doing, and then I'm going to continue on with my standard approach, which is going through the bio. I'm going to go through and review her skins, I'm going to go through her story, I'm going to go through her spotlight, I'm going to go through any login themes, and I'm also going to go through any special interactions. I'll timestamp the whole thing, as I always do. And yeah, without further ado, let's get it.
How could you betray us like this?
Because I could. Because I wanted to. It ain't about the money. It ain't all about the money.
With my dying breath, I offer my soul to thee. Lady of Vengeance, let justice be done.
Pledge accepted.
What are you?
We are the Spear of Vengeance. We come for you, Deceiver.
Not a chance.
Innocent blood in your hands.
Open, Samuel!
Your pockets overflow with the spoils of treachery.
Just take it. Take it off!
Such is the price of betrayal.
Right, so Kalista is the Spear of Vengeance. The best bit for me in this is right at the beginning, the guy kills the other guy, doesn't he? And he says something along the lines of why. There's some dialogue going on, why? And then he says, it ain't about the money. And then the guy has the nerve. Here.
Just take it.
Here, take it, because obviously that's going to work. You've got this undead dying, whatever this thing is. At least he doesn't know what it is. Why does he throw money and think that's going to work? Oh yeah, nice one. Yeah, some gold here. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I'm off. That's not going to work. And then I was there just to confirm that that's not going to work. Not one, not two.
Take it off!
3 spears just to make sure that he is dead. So that was good. I think that was, if anything, that was more showcasing Kalista the Pledge, her abilities. And maybe this ties in, come to think of it now, maybe this ties in more nicely with Kalista the Pledge and Vengeance. Maybe this ties in with the bio of Hecarim. Hecarim betrayed her, didn't he? He killed her. So maybe now she seeks justice for anyone else that's been betrayed as well. It's a reach, but maybe that's what that's kind of showing. Plus, obviously, her abilities as well. So, that was a good start. That was a good start. Now, let's move on to the bio. So, Kalista, the Spear of Vengeance. So, let's do a little bit more. In life, Kalista was a proud general, niece to the king of an empire that none now recall. So that's interesting as well. She's obviously the niece to the ruined king. I wonder how he reacted when Hecarim basically stabbed her in the back. Probably wasn't concerned actually, since obviously he was so focused on Isolde, I think she's called. Anyways, she lived by a strict code of honour, serving the throne with utmost loyalty. The king had many enemies, and when they sent an assassin to slay him, it was Kalista. Kalista's vigilance that averted disaster. But in saving the king, she damned the one he loved most. The assassin's deflected blade was envenomed and sliced the arm of the queen. The greatest priests and surgeons were summoned, but none could draw the poison from her body. Wrecked with grief, the king dispatched Kalista in search of a cure, which we found out about, with Hecarim of the Iron Order taking her place at his side. Kalista travelled far, consulting learned scholars, hermits and mystics, but to no avail. Finally she learned of a place protected from the outside world by shimmering pale mists, whose inhabitants were rumoured to know the secrets of eternal life. She set sail on one last voyage in hope to the almost legendary Blessed Isles. So, The guardians of the capital city, Hela, saw the purity of Kalista's intent and parted the mist to allow her safe passage. She begged them to heal the queen, and after much consideration, the masters of the city, should I say, agreed. I didn't realise that. Time was of the essence. While the queen yet breathed, there was hope for her in the fabled waters of life. Kalista was given a talisman that would allow her to return to Hela unaided, but was warned against sharing this knowledge with any other. Right, so what was the plan for her to bring the queen on her own? I don't know. However, by the time Kalista reached the shores of her homeland, right, okay, the queen was already dead. The king had descended into madness, locked himself in his tower with the queen's festering corpse, nice. When he learned of Kalista's return, he demanded to know what she had found. With a heavy heart she had never before failed him. She admitted that the cure she had found would be of no use. At that point, there's no point in saying anything. There's no point in saying, oh, I've got something, but now it's useless. Just don't say anything. The king would not believe this and condemned Kalista as a traitor to the crown. There we go. It was Hecarim who persuaded her to lead them to the Blessed Isles, where her uncle could hear the truth of it from the masters themselves. Then perhaps he would find peace, which is a mistake, even if only in accepting that the queen was gone and allowing her to be laid to rest. Hesitantly, Kalista agreed. We know what happened next. And so the king set out with a flotilla of his fastest ships and cried out in joy as the glittering city of Hela was revealed to him. However, they were met with by the stern masters who would not allow them to pass. Death, they insisted, was final. To cheat it would be to break the natural order of the world. The king flew into a fevered rage and commanded Kalista to slay any who opposed them. She refused and called on Hecarim to stand with her. Right, interesting. But instead he drove his spear through her armoured back. Nice. The Iron Order joined him in this treachery, piercing Kalista's body a dozen times more as she fell. A brutal melee erupted, with those devoted to Kalista fighting desperately against Hecarim's knights, which we didn't know about in the previous bio and story, but their numbers were too few. As Kalista's life faded, she watched her warriors die, swearing vengeance with her final breath. When next Kalista opened her eyes, they were filled with the dark power of unnatural magic because of what happens next. She had no idea what had transpired, but the city of Hela had been transformed into a twisted mockery of its former beauty. Indeed, the entirety of the Blessed Isles was now a place of shadow and darkness, filled with howling spirits trapped for all eternity in the nightmare of undead. Okay, though she had to cling to those fragmented memories of Hecarim's monstrous betrayal, they have slowly faded in all the centuries since, and all that now remains is a thirst for revenge burning in Kalista's ruined chest. She had become a spectre, a figure of macabre folklore, often invoked by those who have suffered similar treacheries. Right, this is quite what I was saying, kind of ties in with her champion trailer or teaser. Those wretched spirits are subdued into hers to pay the ultimate price, becoming one with the speed of vengeance. Yes, so this guy got killed. You can see that she took his spirit, she listened to his cry for vengeance, and she killed that guy, who for some random reason thought paying her would obviously work. So that was good, and a nice build upon obviously what we've read in the previous bios of the previous champions of the Shadow Isles as well. So let's move now on to the skins for Kalista. Let's go. So Kalista, the Spear of Vengeance, Royal Marksman, difficulty moderate. Let's jump over the abilities. So here, Kalista. So this, whoop, oh, that always happens, doesn't it? Always happens. So she don't have too many actually. We've got the base skin and then 1, 2, 3, 4 unique skins. Okay, so this is her base skin. I like it. I like a base skin. Once again, every single Shadow Isles champion has this really cool blue green neon glow, and this is present here as well. What's interesting is it looks like she's got 3 spears. One of them goes through her chest. I wonder if that represents the betrayal that Hecarim, basically where Hecarim stabbed her through the chest, and he was the backstabber, and I wonder if that kind of represents that there. Anyways, okay, let's move on to the first one, Blood Moon. Now there's a theme with Blood Moon. Every single Blood Moon I actually look at is so good. I'm sure this is going to be the same. So there we go. Blood Moon Kalista. Nice. Interested in this one as well. If I go back to the original, she has the spear in the hand. This one, her hands don't have any spears, and she's got maybe the spears at the back there, but no, it's cool. I like you've got the blood moon in the background as well. Yeah, that's cool. And there's always use of horns. Every single blood moon character seems to have these horns as well, and obviously red is the primary colour as well. Cool. Championship Kalista, nice. So championship in comparison to the original skin, it's kind of similar, just kind of like a more modern version. Nice. Okay, that's cool. I don't know if in the bottom left hand corner here there's Hecarim grinning. Maybe not. SKT T1 Kalista. Nice. So this is probably Kalista here. Rise. This is the Minotaur dude. Forgot his name. We've got Renekton, and I can't see who that is. Is that Evelyn? Is it? I think it is. I can't really work out from that who that is. Well, that might be Evelyn. But anyway, this is Kalista here. Cool. And Marauder. Whoa. Marauder. There's a very similar theme and one for Irelia. I'm sure Irelia's got a very similar one. That's nice as well. Also give me kind of like Ionian vibes. That one and the Blood Moon are giving me the Ionian vibes. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so not too many to choose from on this one, which is a bit of a shame. But if I had to pick my favourite one, it would have to, once again, like I said before, be Blood Moon. The Blood Moon theme is really good, and this is a continuation of that. This is really nice. Really good looking skin. That will be number 1, and of the limited options I have to choose from, Marauder will be number 2. These are quite similar. Blood Moon and Marauder are quite similar. Who else has Marauder? There's someone else I've done recently that has Marauder. It wasn't Shen. I've done someone recently. It'll come to me. But no, I like that. That's number 2. And number 3 would probably be... I think it's going to be... Yeah, I'm not a fan of the skins that are based on the winning teams from various championships. So I'm going to choose the championship Kalista. That will be number 3. So yeah, that's kind of my ranking of the skins available for Kalista. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to her login theme. Let's go. Here we go. Whoa, that hand is a bit off key. Okay, straight into it. Straight into it. Like it. Okay, nice. So, the first thing I will say, which is kind of like, if I was nitpicking, really fast paced, to get straight into it. The music's epic. Don't get me wrong. The music, the login theme is really good. I just wish it built up a little bit more slowly. If there was a bit of a build up to it, that, like within what? Like, what's this now? Couple of seconds, 10 seconds. And at this point onwards, we've built up. I wish it was a little bit slower. It would have made it a little bit more epic. But no, that was cool. But what I picked out was the animation. Animation's nice. So this arm here, I don't know what this arm is doing with this hand that looks like a claw. Yeah, that's a madness. That's creepy as it gets. But what's interesting is, I mentioned before about the spear through her chest, which maybe represents the betrayal from Hecarim. But you can also see the other stab wounds as well, which ties in nicely with the bio, because what we get to find out in the bio as well is she wasn't just stabbed by Hecarim, but then Hecarim's followers stabbed her as well when she was on the floor. So that obviously sealed the betrayal. And I like how they've tied that in with the visuals here. You can see the stab wounds. There's at least 3 there from probably other people as well. So I like the attention to detail on that. But yeah, overall, pretty good. I just wish there was a little bit more of a build-up before we got to the top of the music. But yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the story. Let's go. So, Invocation. This is the story. The swordwife stood amid the burnt-out ruin of her home. Everything and everyone that mattered to her was gone, and she was filled with fathomless grief and hate. Hate was now all that compelled her. She saw again the smile off his face as he gave the order. Who could this be? He was meant to be their protector, but he spat upon his vow. Hers was not the only family shattered by the Oathbreaker. The desire to go after him was strong. She wanted nothing more than to plant her sword in his chest and watch the line drain from his eyes. But she knew she would never be able to get close enough to him. I wonder what she's talking about. He was guarded day and night, and she was but one warrior. She would never be able to fight her way through his battalion alone. Such a death would serve no purpose. She took a shuddering breath, knowing there was no coming back. A crude effigy of a man formed of sticks and twine lay upon a fire-blackened dresser. His body was wrapped in a scrap of cloth torn from the cloak of the betrayer. She pried it from her husband's dead grasp. Alongside it was a hammer and 3 rusted nails. She gathered everything up and moved to the threshold. The door itself was gone, smashed to splinters in the attack. Beyond it, lit by moonlight, lay the empty, darkened fields. Reaching up, the swordwife pressed the stick effigy to the hardwood lintel. I invoke thee, Lady of Vengeance. Right, so this is Kalista, she said, her low voice trembling with the depth of her fury. From beyond the veil, hear my plea. Come forth, let justice be done. She readied her hammer and the first of the nails. I named my betrayer once, she said, and spoke his name aloud. As she did so, she placed the tip of the first nail to the chest of the stick figure. With a single strike, she hammered it in deep, pinning it to the hardwood door frame. The swordwife shivered. The room had become markedly colder. Or had she just imagined it? I name him twice, she said, as she did so, hammering the second nail alongside the first. Her gaze dropped as she jolted in shock. A dark figure, stood out in the moonlit field, 100 yards in the distance. It was utterly motionless. Breathing quicker, the swordwife returned her attention to the unfinished task. I name him thrice, she said, speaking again the name of the murderer of her husband and children, before hammering home the final nail. An ancient spirit of vengeance stood before her, filling the doorway, and the swordwife staggered back, gasping involuntarily. So this is clearly Kalista. So, the otherworldly being was clad in archaic armour, her flesh translucent and glowing with spectral unlight. Black mist coiled around her like a living shroud. With a squeal of tortured metal, the spectral figure drew forth the blackened spear protruding from her breastplate, the ancient weapon that had ended her life. She threw it to the ground before the swordwife. No words were spoken. There was no need. The swordwife knew what was being offered to her, vengeance, and knew its terrible cost. Her soul. The spirit watched on, her face impassive and her eyes burning with an unrelenting cold fury as the swordwife picked up the treacherous weapon. I pledge myself to vengeance, the swordwife said, her voice quivering. She reversed the spear, aiming the tip towards her heart. I pledge it with my blood. I pledge it with my soul. She paused. Her husband would have pleaded to her to turn away from this path. He would have begged her not to condone condemn her soul for theirs. A moment of doubt dawned at her. The undying spectre watched on. The swordwife's eyes narrowed as she thought of her husband laying dead, cut down by swords and axes. The thought again of her children sprawled upon the ground, and her resolve hardened like a cold stone in her heart. Her grip tightened upon the spear. "Help me," she implored, her decision made. "Please help kill him." Right. She rammed the spear into her chest, driving it deep. The swordwife's eyes widened as she dropped to her knees. She tried to speak, but only blood burbled from her lips. The ghost apparition watched her die, her expression impassive. As the last of the lifeblood ran from her body, the shade of the swordwife climbed to her feet. She looked down at her insubstantial hands in wonder, then at her own corpse lying dead-eyed in the growing pool of blood upon the floor. The shade's expression hardened, and a ghostly sword appeared in her hand. An ethereal tether, little more than a wisp of light, linked the newly formed shade to the avenging spirit she had summoned. Through their bond, the swordwife saw her differently. Glimpsing the noble warrior she had been in life, tall and proud, her armour gleaming, her posture was confident yet without arrogance, a born leader, a born soldier. This was a commander the swordwife would willingly bleed for. Behind the spirit's anger she sensed her empathy, recognition of their shared pain of betrayal. Which makes sense. "Your cause is our cause," said Kalista, the spear of vengeance. Her voice was grave cold. "We walk the path of vengeance as one now." The swordwife nodded. With that, the avenging spirit and the shade of the swordwife stepped into the darkness and were gone. Right, this was a great story, really good, and it builds upon everything about the character of Kalista. What's interesting about this as well is Kalista seems like one of the good ones. You know, I've gone through the previous bios and I've said in stories and I've said they all seem evil, from Muego down to Thresh and Hecarim. She seems to be one of the good ones, but what I like about it is, even though she is good, she's still bound by the rules of the Shadow Isles, because you can see here it says, where does it says? It mentions it a couple of times, her expression impassive, even as she watches this person die. So she's very cold-hearted, and only when the swordwife dies does she get a glimpse into the true Kalista, where it mentions there, you got a glimpse of the noble warrior. She was confident without being arrogant, a born leader, and it mentions there it's someone that she was willing to bleed for. So, and it says that she sends her empathy. So I like that contrast, that she seems cold and lifeless, and only when you abide by the rules of the Shadow Isles, which is giving your soul to Kalista, do you truly see who she is. And also, one other thing, it says here, your cause is our cause, not my cause, our cause. And this was also mentioned in the champion teaser as well, how this clearly isn't the first instance. This isn't the first time this has happened. And as more and more people pledge their vengeance to Kalista, it becomes our cause, not just her cause, which makes it even more stronger. So yeah, really good story, and I like how it builds upon her character as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to the special interactions and then on to the spotlight. Let's go.
To the League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring Kalista, the Spear of Vengeance.
We will not give the mercy of those who hide behind magic.
Only a shadow of her former self, Kalista relentlessly hunts traitors and oathbreakers across Runeterra, collecting their souls and growing her strength.
That's the one.
Kalista is a uniquely mobile and cooperative marksman who excels when working in concert with her soulbound ally. Kalista begins every game with the Black Spear. This item serves only one purpose, to establish a link between Kalista and an allied champion, usually her lane partner. When Kalista casts the Black Spear on her chosen ally, the pair are soulbound for the rest of the game.
Whoa.
Having a soulbound is like having a soulmate, but for killing things. The link grants unique passive and active abilities only available to the pair.
Wow, I never knew that.
Kallista's passive is Martial Poise, and it has two important parts. First, Kalista cannot cancel her basic attacks. Once she's winding up that spear, there's no going back. Second, entering a move order during Kallista's basic attack windup makes her hop in that direction after the attack is complete. Martial Poise will probably take some getting used to, especially as Kalista builds attack speed. but it gives her incredible mobility in combat. Note that if Kalista leaps backward, she gains a bit of extra distance. Martial Poise's hop distance scales with your boots rank. For example, Boots of Speed and Berserker's Greaves each increase the range. Outside of combat, Kalista's movement is limited, but Martial Poise makes her really slippery in a fight. Constantly using the short hops lets her kite bruisers while consistently dealing damage. Kalista's abilities and their interactions are best explained out of order. Let's start with Rend, her E. Rend passively causes Kalista's basic attacks to lodge spears inside her targets. These spears can stack infinitely on as many targets as she wants, but will fall off any target Kalista hasn't attacked for a few seconds. On activation, Kalista rips the spears away, slowing and dealing damage to all nearby Rended enemies.
Right.
The damage is increased for every Rend spear lodged in the target, meaning you could hypothetically deal infinite tons of damage. If any foe, even a minion, is killed by the activation, the cooldown is immediately refreshed.
Wow.
But if no target is killed, the ability goes on cooldown and Rend's passive is disabled until it comes back up. Rend has a considerably low mana cost, making it an efficient tool for last hitting and shoving lanes at all phases of the game. Kalista's W, Sentinel, has a passive and an active. The passive only works with Kalista's soulbound partner in crime. If the pair attack the same target within a very brief window, they deal bonus damage based on the target's max health and apply a stack of Rend. Sentinel cannot be triggered on the same target for several seconds. If Sentinel deals the killing blow, Kalista gets the credit in gold, regardless of who triggered it. The active part of the ability operates on an ammo system with a substantial cooldown. Kalista sends a Sentinel on a scouting mission. Sentinels patrol back and forth between Kalista's initial cast location and the targeted area a few times before expiring. Sentinels only grant vision in a cone in front of them. When they spot an enemy champion, Sentinels shriek and follow them for a brief period. However, enemies can destroy Sentinels with basic attacks, and can sneak up behind them to do so undetected. Cardboard boxes work too.
Right.
Send Sentinels to patrol common gank paths while you're laning. They'll give you a heads up when they spot baddies. Kalista's Q, Pierce, fires a spear that deals damage, applies Rend, applies her trigger Sentinel, and stops on the first target struck. Additionally, Pierce triggers Martial Poise, so she can dash right after casting. If Pierce kills an enemy that has active Rend stacks, Pierce pierces through that enemy, adding all those stacks to the next target struck. Pierce enhances Kalista's mobility because it can trigger Martial Poise outside of combat, allowing her to leap over walls.
Okay.
Here's some examples of walls you can hop over. Kalista's ultimate is Fate's Call, and is only castable when the soulbound pair are near enough for the tether to be visible. When cast, Fate's Call pulls Kalista's soulbound to her, and makes that ally untargetable and pacified for a short time. The next part of the ult is controlled by the soulbound ally. After a moment, the soulbound can right-click to launch themselves in any direction, causing an AoE knockup on impact before rebounding slightly. Basically, Kalista says when, and her soulbound ally says where. Ranged champions casting the second half of Fate's Call rebound slightly farther away than melee ones.
Okay.
If the ally doesn't cast the ability after a few seconds, keep in mind they will automatically rocket forward in the direction Kalista's facing. Kalista's the rare marksman that can dictate engages. A max range Fate's Call gets fights started in a hurry. Use it in tandem with your soulbound to initiate or make a pick. Teamwork. Moving backward or forward, Kalista's spears always find their target. Collect the souls of your enemies with these elite maneuvers. Spear stepping is the essential Kalista combo. Basic attack and pierce as often as possible, hopping in the intended direction after each attack.
Poor Shyvana.
If you're retreating, save Rend for when your opponent is about to reach you. If you're chasing, instead hang on to it for maximum damage, using it as an execute. Because Rend's cooldown resets on minion kills, try to get a stack on a minion as well as an enemy champion. Popping Rend to kill the minion and get the reset. Continue attacking the enemy champion and pop Rend again before piecing out. This way you get twice the slow and even more damage. When searching on a vulnerable enemy, send a sentinel ahead.
That's so
If
cool.
it sniffs out a baddie, use Pierce and Martial Poise to hop forward, slowing your foe with red to get into basic attack range. If your soulbound's nearby, give them a Fate's Call to let them launch ahead, so you can sink the killing blow together. Martial Poise helps Kalista float like a butterfly and sting like a spirit hell-bent on vengeance. Try to hop after every basic attack, even in lane. This allows you to dodge skill shots and get aggressive with your own abilities. Kalista's level 6 power spike is huge, both for herself and her soulbound, especially when combined with other all-in friendly ults like Morgana's. Here, Sentinel catches Caitlyn out of position, and Kalista does two things. First, she activates Fate's Call to get Morgana into the fray, then demoralizes Sona by dodging Crescendo with Martial Poise. Morgana follows up, crushing the fight with the second half of Fate's Call and Soul Shackles, allowing the Soulbound lane to pick up a 2-0. Fate's Call has utility beyond engages. If your Soulbound is about to give up the ghost, pull them to safety with Kalista's ultimate. That's for all those lanterns, Thresh. Shadow Owls for life!
That was good. Okay.
Kalista must trust her soulbound ally to make tactical decisions with Fate's Call. Here, she initiates the ult to yank Braum out of Janna's tornado, giving him the chance to make a play. Braum's got a real choice here. Go aggro and rock Lucian and Janna, or play it safe and ensure the enemy Darius can't get to Kalista. Braum makes the right play, splitting the enemy team and allowing his other allies to handle Darius. The teamwork pays off, allowing Kalista's team a clean 4-0 fight. Kalista's hops allow her to be extremely opportunistic, as well as stay in range for consistent basic attacks, giving her kills on both Gangplank and Vhagar. Kalista waits for minions so she can tower dive when they arrive. Spotting Caitlyn out of position, Kalista takes her down immediately, using Martial Poise to leave turret range right after the kill.
Like that.
While attacking Evelynn, Kalista simultaneously leaves turret range, Evelyn's range, and cuts off the retreat path to ensure a safe and clean quadra kill. Thanks for tuning in to the Kalista Champion Spotlight. Please subscribe to the
Right, okay, so that nicely rounds off my review of Kalista. Spotlight, really good. Really good. I don't know how old that was, but really good to go through her abilities, her passives and her actives. Really unique abilities as well that I wasn't aware of. I've not played against a Kalista yet, I don't think, as well. So quite refreshing to go through and watch the actual gameplay and tactics on that as well. I think I'll leave it here today, guys, in this one. Hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts, reactions to everything I've done so far. And if you did, feel free to let me know. Feel free to like, comment, and maybe also subscribe if you haven't done so already. And next week is Yorick, which is one of my favourite champions. Next week is Yorick. So I will see you guys in the next one.